Following program are pre-recorded.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bachman along with Tom Bertle, owner of the Bismarck Bobcats. And Tom, we actually got a couple games to talk about. Of course, Thanksgiving coming up next week, and that means kind of an odd schedule because you always do that pre-Thanksgiving game, which is going to be a big game with Minot. But before we get to that, North Iowa Bulls, you guys are going to be on the road this weekend. What do we need to know as you head down to Mason City, Iowa?
Well, we need to know if the roads are clear, and that's good. I know it's been a little messy in Bismarck the last couple days, but I also know that the bus left this morning at 8:45, and they're probably passing through my neighborhood as we speak. I think they're almost in the cities, and so they'll head down to Mason City tonight. Have a pre-skate tomorrow. Get ready for a couple of games in Mason City, kind of a back-to-back weekend. And for those that were there last weekend, it was a dogfight. One went to a 9-man shootout, and the night before, I think we outplayed them, beat them 3-2. But it was really good hockey, and Mason City, they're much improved, and they're a really good team. And of course, we don't suck too bad. We're pretty good too. So pretty good hockey.
So that's one of the teams that's kind of come up over the last couple of years. They've really started to put in some pieces together, and while the record may not show it, the talent level is just there. And that's kind of one of the things you're running into with a lot of teams across the league is the talent level is, we talked about this with the compression from COVID, and we're kind of expecting just kind of a little bubble for a year or two. But the entire league, the talent has kind of gone to a new level, and it's maintained that. It's stayed there.
Yeah. Without a doubt, and I think the single biggest change there is, as we've talked about, the number of imports. 3 years ago, we had 4. Now we have 8. And so the Bobcats, not every team has 8, but the Bobcats have 8, and I think the top maybe 10 of the teams have 7 or 8. And interestingly enough, if you go through the standings and you go through the number of imports, the teams like Bismarck and others, they're just simply better teams. And it's nothing against American boys. We certainly want to develop American boys. We're part of USA Hockey, but the junior landscape has become so competitive, and it just speaks to when you have 8 imports because they're an investment differently than a USA Hockey player. Financially, they got to be a top 6 guy or close to that. And so, if you look at Alexander Kim, he's our number 21 from Kazakhstan. He's just a gifted player, and you can go up and down our lineup. So the teams that have these imports are stronger, and there's just a lot of talent. The hockey, if you haven't been to a Bobcat game, I know you have, but for those listening, if you haven't been to a Bobcat game this year, they move the puck it's magic. It's not NHL, but my God, it's amazing how they can move the puck.
The speed has actually just picked up, and the tape-to-tape passing, it's so crisp. And I can honestly say
it's remarkable.
Yeah, 10 years ago, it was good hockey, but it wasn't that. It wasn't what we're seeing today on the ice at the Bismarck Bobcats or across the entire league.
Yeah, there's a lot more dump and chase, and I'm not saying we're a European style, we're not that far, but there's a lot less dump and chase now. You get through the center ice, and you get into the offensive zone, and God, our boys move. They're just moving constantly. I sit there and I watch it, and we don't hardly, the Bobcats, we don't hardly lose any battles to pucks. The boys work hard. They move so hard without the puck. And, of course, that's been pretty instrumental in our success. And, of course, that's also, Coach Ross' style. He makes them work or they don't play.
Well, when you're seeing a lot of dump and chase, usually it's an indicator of not having enough speed or not having enough skill. And that's part of the reason we're seeing not a lot of that right now, because the speed is up, the skill is up. One of the other things that's really fun to watch, and that's why I say hockey it's the one sport that it doesn't transfer well to being on TV. You have to be at the games in person. And the reason for that is there's so much going on with a high-skilled team that is away from the puck. You're watching how people are setting up to take that pass or setting up to be that third pass from now. And that's the nuance of the game where it's so much fun to watch what's going on away from the puck. It's just, it's a different game right now, Tom.
Yeah, it is for sure. And, it's the bobbing and weaving and the movement without the puck that's kind of the key success in getting some opportunities on the weak side and stuff. But, for those that are more into the hockey, some of it is simply, to your point, even beyond the scope of any TV, is looking for the changes and trying to get change advantages where, you're deep in the zone, and if you can peel out a couple defensemen, maybe a forward to get that edge of exhaustion, right, after 45 seconds, if you can change some lines during your time in the offensive zone, all those things. And again, that's a little bit different level of spectator, perhaps. But I don't know, it's good. And right now we're really playing well, and our goaltenders aren't too bad either. Our defense is spectacular. We had another boy commit Division I yesterday, and I think there'll be another one tomorrow forward. And so we're pretty fun. I got to say, we're pretty fun. I think we're 17-1. Last time I checked, that's not horrible.
Not horrible at all. So my question is, where are we at on the injury front? Because you've had a little influx of having to roll some players over because of some players having to be out of the lineup. Where are we at for health on the team right now?
Well, I'm not sure today, but last week, I think, as you know, we were down, 5 players. You got Alexander Kim, who's playing World Juniors in Canada, so he'll be gone for 2 months, and then Beaumont's been out and Evan Hunter's been out. Those are our top 2 scorers. And then also Gasper, he's from Czech Republic, got a bad wrist. And so I don't know exactly where we are as of today. I know that Evan Hunter skated. I think he's going to try to give it a go. Beaumont is he's got a little bit of a concussion, so we're just being, of course, really careful there. And I'm not sure where the wrist is. I don't think he's ready. So, we're still a little dinged up. But to get on this team, the beauty in this team is, so those are probably 5 of our top 7 point getters. And then in addition to that, Ian Engel, had been out. He's our captain, and he's out tomorrow because he got a game misconduct, and the player got a game misconduct. So we're a little short-handed, but the beauty is, like I say, we've got a really deep team, and everybody works so hard that it's just it's noticeable that they're gone, but they haven't given up. They're playing hard.
Bismarck Bobcats on the road this weekend to North Iowa, down in Mason City, taking on the Bulls. You can catch all the action right here. Tom, always a pleasure, my friend. Catch all the action right here on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk. Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, Pam Thompson joining us in the studio. And Pam, gobble, gobble, gobble. It is that time of the year again. Turkey trot.
It is. It's turkey trot time, even though it's like 50 degrees outside and...
Shh. Shh.
Right.
Don't jinx it.
It could stay.
Don't jinx it. I know some snow in the forecast, but that's up north.
Oh, we're not worried about it. It could be nice over
here. Because I've done turkey trot anywhere from 50 degrees to it seemed like 50 below, probably 50 below with the wind chill. Actually, that's the first one I did.
That was, I think it was like 40 below or something ridiculous.
Beard and frosty is like, I was trying to impress my now wife, girlfriend at the time. And yeah. Yeah, things we do for love, Pam.
Right.
Anyway, so apparently it did work. So, so she makes me. So we'll be there again this year.
Excellent.
Always there. I'll be walking the dogs. She'll be running, but I'll be walking the dogs. Okay, turkey trot again. What? Gosh, how long now?
It's the 35th year.
35th year.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's almost as old as me.
Almost. Give or take.
Yeah.
In dog years. It's part of a Thanksgiving institution now, though.
It's a tradition for so many people here in the Bismarck Mandan area. And we have people that come home to the turkey trot every year and look forward to it. It's a family thing.
The cool thing with turkey trot, too, is we should probably say who you're with and what the turkey trot supports, because we're talking about turkey trot memories.
Right. We're with the Cystic Fibrosis Association of North Dakota. So the turkey trot is our biggest fundraiser every year, raising really crucial funds to help our friends with cystic fibrosis.
And then where do those funds go? Because it's support for individuals with cystic fibrosis. There's the research side. There's so many different facets to help out those with cystic.
We do the really practical grassroots help for people living with cystic fibrosis. The money stays right here in North Dakota, and we help people. We pay for travel to doctor's appointments. We only have 2 CF clinics in North Dakota, one in Bismarck and one in Fargo. So if you live in Williston, you're on the road to get to your doctor's appointments. So we help to pay for some of those travel expenses. We pay for some really expensive medications that have changed lives. They've really extended the life expectancy to where someone born with CF today can expect a normal lifespan.
Okay, I'm going to be a little frank here, because 35 years ago, that wasn't the case.
No.
You were diagnosed with CF, somebody born with cystic fibrosis. That was a death sentence.
Oh, absolutely.
It was a question of, well, how long can we extend their life before we know they're going to pass away? And then that's changed into, okay, we can get some pretty good outcomes. And then it was the improvements on the quality of that life.
Right.
And now people can lead pretty much normal lives with that diagnosis. And that's just over 35 years.
Yeah. I've been with the association for 12 years, and I've seen so much improvement just in those 12 years.
It's unbelievable.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Expensive, but amazing.
Yeah, very expensive, but amazing. So making strides, hopefully someday.
We're close to a cure.
I wouldn't say full cure yet, but we're close.
We're very close.
And now let's talk a little about the turkey trot, because for 35 years, it's grown from, okay, what a great event to help support a great cause, to, okay, we're going to go, hey, going back home for Thanksgiving, let's go do the turkey trot. It's something to do. And we're supporting a great cause. Now it's just family tradition. It's part of Thanksgiving.
It's part of Thanksgiving.
You cannot, in the Bismarck, Mandan, Lincoln area, say Thanksgiving without thinking turkey trot.
Right.
It is such an intrinsic part of the fabric of this community. And as a director, that's got to make you feel really good, knowing that people have bought in and want to participate, and it has become a part of their family tradition, because it's not individuals, it's families showing up.
And everyone has a smile on their face. It's cold. Let's not
actually, the smile may not move depending on the year.
It might be frozen there. But everyone's happy. Whenever I look at pictures of the turkey trot, like, people are running and smiling, which I can't picture because I'm not a runner. But I guess you could be
they're
happy
dressed up
while
as
you're
turkeys
running.
and drumsticks and
pumpkin pie, and you get an extra slice of pie. You earn it. You earn an extra slice of pie if you do the turkey trot.
Well, see, that's what I always try to say, and Wendy doesn't want to let me get the extra slice of pie.
Oh, tell her I said so.
Even a la mode? I mean, it's like trying to draw the line at the ice cream.
It's a vegetable.
Yes, it is. Pumpkin is a vegetable. Or there's, of course, apple pie, too.
It's fruit.
Yeah, it's fruit. I love the way you think. Slice of pie a day keeps it. Yeah, okay. All right. So, what do people need to know? We got some deadlines coming up as far as getting the T-shirts and everything. You've kind of pushed that back because another big component now is even if you can't make it back to Bismarck for the Turkey Trot, you can virtually participate.
We have a virtual option, so you can sign up as a virtual runner, and we will send you your T-shirt and a cute little race bib, and you can run on your own time. I won't even check. You could not run. It's up to you. It's you and your conscience.
You just set the bib on the treadmill and then start the treadmill and you can walk away, right?
Right, yeah. So that's always an option. All of our registration is online now, and you can register right up until 9 o'clock on race day.
So races start because there's a bunch of different categories now. That's kind of grown too.
Well, it's fewer categories this year.
You scaled back?
Well, we had to. There's this little thing called the rail bridge.
Oh,
and the construction.
I was going to ask you about the construction component, changing the route.
Right. So the route is the same, but we are shortening. We are not having a 10K this year.
Okay. But if you want to do the 5K twice, feel free.
Feel free. I can't imagine wanting to do 2 5Ks, but you could.
There's a lot of people that do.
But the turnaround for the 5K appears to be okay because that's right at Frayne Barracks there. But the 10K was in jeopardy.
Little bridge construction.
Little bridge construction.
So do 2 5Ks. You're just as...
So that simplifies things a bit in that we're just going to have one start. We've done staggered starts before. Everyone starts at 9:15. If you're super fast, start in the front. If you've got dogs or a stroller or you're a walker, start in the back.
One of the things I noticed last year, too, is a lot of people may not have been on the proper pathway for if you're walking with dogs or you're jogging or it's kind of a recreational route.
Right.
Because I noticed a lot of the 10K people that were coming back before I made the first turn.
Right.
There was a lot of congestion, so people were getting in the way. So can't stress enough, stay on the right route. Get there a little bit early. Look at the map because there's some people that they're taking it seriously.
Very seriously. Yeah, our executive director got run over a couple years ago. Because he was starting the race and didn't get out of the way in time.
Wasn't me. I got way over the side with the dogs. I'm like,
yes. So we have an untimed fun walk, and that walks through Sertoma Park, and that's on you. You can turn around when you wish, and that's kind of off the roads.
You're looking at me when you're saying that, by the way, because it's.
Well, I mean, I believe you are. I mean, I could look it up, but I think you're registered.
I'm
for the
a fun walk person. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wendy was going to register, so
yeah,
I don't know
I'll
if she did
look.
yet.
But the family fun walk, that stays in the park.
Tell you what, hold on a second. I want to come back next segment and talk a little bit about the different components and what it looks like going. Where do people register?
CFAND.org.
Perfect. We're talking with Pam with the Cystic Fibrosis Association. Turkey Trot coming up. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Program schedule, updated local news, sports, contests, and more. Visit today at supertalk1270.com. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270. We're talking with Pam Thompson from the Cystic Fibrosis Association. And, okay, what's the website? I want to get that out of the way right away because we can't stress enough. Get registered for the Turkey Trot.
Yes. It's at cfand.org. There'll be a pop-up that comes up that says register for the Turkey Trot. That's how you get there.
All right. Always bigger and better. This year there's a little bit of a kind of like COVID, you made it through, and that was the virtual side.
Right.
With how do we keep this going? And you guys innovated out of it. This year there's some construction that's going to be in the way with the rail bridge construction. So part of River Road's going to be closed, which means the 10K. Now, if you want to do the 5K twice and still knock out the 10K, feel free. But the 10K is not going to be offered this year.
It's on hold, and we were a little sad about it. But we've talked to runners, and they mostly said no. We'll just run a 5K.
It'll be back next year, right?
It'll be
if they're done with the bridge.
Know. Yeah, it's up to the railroad.
If they're open and bigger
the
than
cool
better.
thing is the rail bridge is on our shirts this year.
Oh, very cool.
So
the new one or the old one?
The old one, I know, right?
Well, see, when you're back fully, you'll have to have a picture of the new one on there.
Right.
So people can get back-to-back T-shirts.
Right, and you don't want to miss out.
No. So one of the things I noticed last year was a little congestion.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the 10K people, which take off and they're coming back, and they wound up trying to navigate around on the roadway of people that were going out on either the 5K or the little fun walk, or they weren't staying over the left.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not in England, folks.
Right.
But people were over the whole road, and that kind of got in the way of some of the faster runners.
Right.
And I think I noticed that probably before I made the first turn. They were coming back. It's crazy how fast people run that. So what have you done to kind of navigate around that a little bit?
Yeah. We have 3 different categories this year. One is the family fun walk, and that is totally untimed. You won't have a race bib. That's how you'll know. If you aren't given a race bib with a timing chip, that starts and ends in Sertoma Park.
Stay in the park.
Stay in the park.
So don't even go on the road.
Nope.
Stay in the park.
Yep. And that's the perfect for a lot of families. Just love that. They don't need a time. They don't need to be competitive, but they want to be out and participate in the
You're looking at me when you're saying that. Yeah, it's like, take the dogs. I'm going for a little walk.
Go for a walk.
Going for a great cause.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Someone brought a goat one year. I think that's super fun.
Walking a goat.
I know.
That's interesting.
Probably behaving better than my kids.
Well, quite possible. So anyway, that's one thing that people need to realize. If you're just doing the fun walk, stay in the park, stay off the road, because there's a lot of runners that take it very serious.
Very seriously.
And then as far as people just getting out with the 5K, try to stay over to the left side going out and the left side coming back in.
Yep.
So just like driving a car, because the road's going to be closed.
Yeah.
People will be there. No 10K this year because of the bridge construction, but kind of.
We're still going to have. I mean, we
rules
still
of the road,
already have. I want to say over 900 timed runners signed up already. So there's going to be a lot of you. So we always ask, the people who are going to be running the 5K versus walking it, because there's a race walk as well. Walkers stay to the back, let the runners in the front. And if you have baby strollers or dogs or any of those things, you're welcome to do those on the timed race if you want to. But stay back.
Stay on the left side, stay in the back a little bit. Let the runners, because I always stay in the back now.
I would have to be.
I hang out with the cool kids back there.
They're very cool in the back.
It's kind of like riding the bus back in grade school. Cool kids. We were always in the back. Okay, so we've got the recreational run, just the little fun walk.
Family fun walk.
Family. Stay in the park for that. If you're going to be doing the 5K, let those folks up front, and then
there's the 5K race walk, and you would start in the back. They're going to both start at the same time at 9:15. So it'll be one start time. I know we've done staggered in the past.
Yeah. And going out, don't take up the whole road.
No. Yeah.
Because that I noticed that last year, and because I was taking a nice casual leisurely stroll from the far left side or the walking trail.
Because
and I was
those fast 5K runners will be turning around before you know it.
Maybe before the first turn.
We're talking like
they're fast.
15 minutes.
Yeah, and they take it seriously.
Yeah.
And you know what? Good for them.
Yeah.
But that was something I noticed last year that people need to be really aware of. Don't take up the whole road going out.
Yeah.
You got half a road. Yeah. So you always have some fun stuff going on in the Elks, because the Elks are so wonderful.
They
helping
love
to support.
having us there, and we love to have people come into the Elks. We'll have a photo booth in there, so you can take before and after pictures if you wanted to. That's free for everyone to use.
See, I used to do that when I used to actually have to run it.
Right.
Before Wendy married me, and I actually had to impress her a little bit. And it was like the level of dishevelment was really good as a comparison. I was like, wow, that's me before the run, and who's that?
Yeah.
One picture to take.
We'll have file orthodontics.
Especially that first year with all the beard frozen
the frozen
ice
beards
crisp.
are the best. I'm hoping for no frozen beards this year. But it could happen.
Could happen.
We never know.
So all the stuff inside.
Yep.
Because people go in and get a water, a banana, relax a little bit, recover a little bit.
Right.
Check out their times because everything's right there right away.
Yes, and those will all be streamed online as well. You can get them right to your phone. I believe they also get emailed to you, but I don't know. Don't hold me to that, but...
Well, it depends on how you sign up for it.
Yeah.
But that's also part of the virtual, because the people that may not be at the race themselves that want to do the virtual side, then that's how they get their time and their information as well.
Yeah. So it's all really very slick and very cool. We have a lot of fun, lots of family pictures. I love to see them all online afterwards. It's really fun. And
really going to a great cause. You know, over the last 35 years since it's been going on, the quality of life and then the improvement on treatment and what it means to somebody who's been diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, and all that money stays right here locally.
Right here in North Dakota, which is wonderful, and it really goes directly to people who need it. The Cystic Fibrosis Foundation does a great job on the research end of things. They do things we cannot do, but we do things that the foundation can't do. And that's offering direct aid to people living with cystic fibrosis. So I think we're making a difference, and I think our people would say that we are as well.
So a lot of great community sponsors and community partners with this as well. So you can see all them in the booths inside. So I really encourage people to go inside after the race. Just don't show up and then take off. Go in and spend a few minutes. It's worth it.
We're working on having a coffee truck out in the parking lot. You can buy a coffee. There's just
the Elks always is a great host, and
they're
do a little
such a great
well.
host, and I just really enjoy. I'm so thankful for what they do, and I know part of their mission is to help kids, and we're kind of just a really good.
Pam, once again, the website, somebody wants to get signed up. Now, you can sign up until 9 o'clock the day of the race.
9 o'clock the day of the race.
Deadline as far as if you want to get your T-shirt and things ahead of time, because
at this point it's first come, first serve. And what's nice is the inventory is real time. So as you sign up, if it says that there's a shirt size available, it's available. So if you don't see a size small, it means we're sold out of size small.
And once again, the website to get signed up?
CFAND.org.
Turkey Trot coming up right around the corner. It is here faster than we all think. Coming up Thursday, the 28th. Make sure you get signed up for Turkey Trot. Pam, always a pleasure.
Yes, great. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully the weather holds. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Julie Jeske, and of course, Provera Bank is her normal hat. A lot of hats, actually.
I have a lot of hats,
Park
but
District,
I have a big head, so I'm happy.
You were kind enough to hop on board with something I started when I was mayor of Bismarck, Capital City Christmas, and we are getting right down to the wire. Of course, it really all starts with the Breakfast with Santa event, which has grown into just under your watch. That has turned into just a jewel for the community.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's been a labor of love, and I was part of Breakfast with Santa in Jamestown, and I started it in Grand Forks. And then when you came to the event center and started talking about looking to do an event to really kick off the holidays. Here in Bismarck.
For the community.
Yes, something for the community.
Not to slight our friends in Mandan, but you don't get all the cool stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, I know. Well, people from Mandan definitely can come to Breakfast with Santa, and we get people from all over. We have relatives that are coming from Kansas. They come to Breakfast with Santa.
So it's Small Business Saturday. It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and the cool part is, I talk to people from Minot and Williston that come to Bismarck and Mandan and come to our community to go shopping that Saturday. And this is part of the event. I mean, they come, bring their kids, go shop the rest of the day. And it is such a cool event, and people come from all over.
Yeah, we really do get people from...
And those tickets do sell out very fast.
And they're so reasonable. I mean, where else can you go and can you have... feed your child for $10 for breakfast, and breakfast is pancakes, French toast, eggs,
sausage,
bananas. Yeah, we've got sausage. We have donuts from Bear Scat Donuts. There is milk, and there's other beverages too. And then plus you can make a toy from Lowe's. Lowe's donates the DIY kits, so you can put together a wonderful little toy. Those kits alone, I think, retail at $15. So you can work on your child with one of those. We've got another little craft that they can make. It's a cute little snowman made out of a terracotta pot. You can bounce on the bouncy houses from the Larks. And then the biggest thing is you get a chance to see Santa and Mrs. Claus, and your child can have a little lap time with them, tell them what they're looking for Christmas. We've got a great silent
Write a letter
auction.
to Santa?
Well, that we're not doing this year. So we've cut that back just because postage has gotten a little expensive.
Okay.
And honestly, it's really hard to read everyone's handwriting. So I spent hours trying to decipher, and sometimes I didn't
Santa
get.
and Mrs. Claus are getting a little thicker. So
Yeah.
their glasses are getting a little thicker. So.
Yeah, it's a little harder for them to decipher people's handwriting. So, but we've got so many things that they can do that morning, and then we go into the afternoon. So from 5:30 to 6:30.
Well, and there's games for the kids too, all throughout the day or during the event, and so much fun stuff. And now things have changed a little bit. So, by the way, where do people get their tickets for Breakfast with Santa? Because those do go very fast and they do sell out.
Yeah, and we are setting for 600 this year, and we are pretty close to 400 tickets sold already for Breakfast with Santa alone. So please don't wait. If you want to take your child to Breakfast with Santa, don't walk in Saturday morning. I'll guarantee you we will be sold out. We try and accommodate people who do walk in just because it would be so disappointing for these children not to be able to see Santa, but we really want to cap this at 600 this year. So the best place to buy them, honestly, is go to the Event Center's box office. I think they open up at 10 or 11 in the morning. Check their website for it. Then you don't have to pay fees. You can always buy them online, but if you want to save a little bit of money, you can walk into the Event Center box office and buy your tickets directly there.
And you mentioned the ticket price, just $10, and the kids get so much.
Yeah, $10 for children's, $12 for adults. I mean, a donut nowadays is going to cost you $3. So yeah, it really is a good value. We keep it low. We have great sponsors, and so they enable us to keep this at a great price point so that people who want to attend can attend. And then in the afternoon from 5:30 to 6, so after Breakfast with Santa, we'll probably wrap up about 12:30. You can go shop downtown, and then you can turn around and come back at 5:30. We've got our tree lighting, which takes place in the Baga parking lot, and that's from 5:30 till 6:30.
So Peace Park is decorated, so all the lights there are part of Capital City Christmas. Then, of course, that big Christmas tree that's so beautiful right in front of Baga, and usually there's a little visit from somebody.
We are fortunate enough that sometimes Santa comes back in a horse-drawn sleigh just to make one more trip to Bismarck before him and Mrs. Claus head back to the North Pole.
So such a great day. Now, things change a little bit because in the past, we've always done, and this kind of harkens back to the first year we did this because we had a little mingle at the event center. I remember, God, we had a lot of snow that year.
Oh, I think we had 19 inches. Yeah, we were setting up that morning,
blizzard.
And yeah, we're going through the parking lot, and I'm like, are you guys gonna get this parking lot plowed before people start showing up at 9 a.m.? So.
But we had a little Christmas mingle afterwards, so they left the inflatables up for the kids, and that was a fun little event. But we've kind of changed it. We're not doing the big New Year's Eve gala this year, which just trying something a little bit different. We kind of went back to the mingle, so we're going to do everything on that Small Business Saturday, and that includes a bigger holiday mingle with the raffles and the silent auction and all of the things that go along with that, the bourbon and wine pull, the games, the adult entertainment, but we're incorporating stuff for the kids as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a family-friendly event. It's from 6:30 to 9, and that is, again, at the Event Center. You can get your tickets online, or you can buy them at the Event Center box office.
And that's a separate ticket from Breakfast with Santa.
So that's $15 for children. 1 and under, they're free. And then the adults are $20. But here's what you get for that $20. Again, it's a great value. So you'll have the inflatables for the kids. You'll have a chance to shop at our silent auction, and that is going online November 18th. So probably a week from Monday, that'll go online. You can We've got a great comfort food buffet, I call it, because I'm a big fan of mac and cheese. So we're going to have mac and cheese with a variety of toppings. We've got baked beans. I don't know. I will definitely ask Anthony at the event center. It'd be nice if that was a topping. I might have a request. Yeah. And then we'll have pulled pork barbecue, and we'll have a bun. So $15 for children, $20 for adults. For the adults, there is free beer. So that's kind of a nice thing. We're going to have a wonderful milk bar.
And entertainment.
And entertainment. Thank you for mentioning that. We'll have Overeducated is our band that night. So you have a chance to dance, you have a chance to eat, you have a chance to visit our silent auction. You can participate in our wine and our bourbon pull. We will have Snowflake Salon. So it's a salon. You pay $6, but you can go in and have hair tinsel added to your hair. You can have your character drawn. That is this additional $6, but where can you get a character drawn for just $6 per person? You can have a balloon animal or art made for $1 per person, and we will have a horse-drawn sleigh ride that you can participate to. So some of the events are free that day, additional cost for some of the events like the sleigh ride, but still a really good value. And it all goes to such a great cause.
All these different charities that Capital City Christmas helps around the community, just phenomenal. So, Breakfast with Santa, get your tickets early on that because those do sell out quickly. The Christmas Mingle, get your tickets for that. The 2 free events on Small Business Saturday are the tree lighting in the Baga parking lot. And then there's a little something that a lot of people show up to for New Year's, but we're not doing it on New Year's this year. We're doing it on that Small Business Saturday, and that's the fireworks show.
Right, and we put on, I would say, probably one of the best fireworks shows. Yeah.
Memory Fireworks does such an amazing job with that. Yeah. So it is going to be a great night. It's going to be a busy day.
It's going to be, we've been advertising it as one day of holiday magic. And I've kind of changed the wording to just, one day of holiday madness for our committee members. But we're up to the challenge, and we are so excited to be doing this. But, yeah, the fireworks is going to be at 9:15-ish. It might be 9:30, but 9:15, and that's going to take place at the Event Center parking lot. So.
It's going to be a fun day, and it is all in one day, so it's going to be an action-packed, very full day. Julie, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, Steve, for having me on.
Once again, best place to get tickets?
You can go to the Bismarck Event Center box office, check their website for the hours, or you can order them online. There are additional fees if you do order online.
Capital City Christmas, Small Business Saturday coming up on Saturday, November 30th. Get your tickets for that. It's going to be a fun day. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, weekday morning starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Your destination ideas, RM World Travel. Sunday morning, starting at 5 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Eric Grabowski, former Associate Professor of Communications over at Dickinson State University. Eric, it's been a while. Thanks for coming back on.
Happy to be back, and I am going to just mention for this week, Happy Veterans Day, which is Monday of this week by the time this is out there, and Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans in any capacity that they served.
All right, I want to start in with Dickinson State University. Of course, Veterans Day was Monday, and everybody, I hope you had an opportunity to thank a veteran. And you know what? You don't need a day to do that. You can do that at any time. I do want to start with Dickinson State University because we haven't had an update for a while, and they've had some interesting things going on. Interim president, presidential search, and a little backstory on the history of this. This goes back to well, I'm going to ask your opinion because I don't think it was completely in good faith some of the negotiation with the nursing program. And the history of DSU goes back a little bit further than that, but I think that was kind of the trigger point, wasn't it?
It was. It really was the culmination of almost everything since about 2020. And we've covered so much on this program, and we covered this summer pretty much in the lead up to the fallout and the fallout itself. So, yes, in my view, and I always say my well-informed view, that the Dickinson State University administration at the time and the Chancellor, Haggerott, who is pretty much a lame duck, did not adequately deal with that nursing faculty situation, and things could have ended much differently than it did. So they were left with a major gap that basically Mayville State University and DSU have had to pull things together in terms of maintaining some semblance of a nursing program, and then some discussion of looking toward the future, and we can talk more about what that may look like. But basically what has happened, it was the intention of the Chancellor and the board by the end of September to have in place an interim president at DSU, and of course before then Ty Orton, the DSU Heritage Foundation head, was put in as acting president. However, North Dakota Monitor reported on this, and that basically the state board decided, and aspects of this were in executive session, so we don't know every detail, but they basically came out of executive session and decided to name Ty as the ongoing acting president, and that has continued. It's going to have to be on a month-to-month basis. And they punted. They did not name an interim president, and so then they moved to a plan to move forward on the search. We could talk more about what that looks like. So that's where we are now. The nursing situation is challenging from different things we hear publicly and sort of in different loops. There are opportunities in the future for growth and regrowth. That depends on the quality of DSU leadership. But there's no guarantees, as I've said before.
All right, I want to back up because there's a lot to unpack there. First and foremost, we are at such a crisis and shortage when it comes to healthcare providers. That's why the Dickinson State University story with the nursing program is as big a story as it is. We need nurses. We need a lot of nurses. How's that program working for DSU students? Are they getting a lot of that education online? Are they getting or having to travel to Mayville State? What is that program currently looking like for those students?
So my understanding of it is right now aspects of it are going as planned, as best as possible in terms of basically at a faculty administration level, it being governed by two faculty from Mayville in cooperation with, DSU administration. And then in terms of what is available to students either locally in terms of, adjunct faculty, and then online learning that may loop back to Mayville or elsewhere. So there's a gap at DSU in terms of having enough full-time faculty, and they may have hired a few full-time faculty on a now basis to handle certain things. But there are gaps. Again, there are challenges for the students that were in the programs that have decided to stay. My understanding is they're getting what they can to move forward in their programs, while then DSU now is navigating what the future is going to look like in terms of nursing programming at DSU.
Okay, I want to come back a little bit to other programs as well, because Dickinson seems to have had struggles over the last several decades of putting all the pieces together in a way moving forward, because there's been little, I'll call them kerfuffles. There's been little hiccups and bumps in the road that have been part administration, part past presidents. Just everything's not been on the same page. There's been a disconnect. Is that what this delay with trying to find the right president may be? Because putting somebody in place has been part of the establishment to a certain degree. I don't know is the long-term future for fixing some of the other ills at the institution, because that's what the long-term goal should be, is for the best outcome of the students, fixing the the integral problems within the institution. Are you getting a sense that that's what they're trying to focus on, is making sure they have the right president for the right fit to make some changes? And I'll throw back to Dr. Jensen, which there weren't problems at Bismarck State College, but a new vision going forward for North Dakota's Polytechnic. That's what Dr. Jensen brought in. Is that kind of what they're looking for in a long-term solution as leadership for Dickinson State?
My opinion, and again, keep in mind, we don't know everything that was discussed in the September executive session, but my opinion is they probably punted on the interim president decision, because they probably felt that the candidates in the poll, which included one internal, what I'd call regime candidate from DSU, and then 3 external candidates, probably weren't fitting the bill for what they thought at the time was the best path forward. So it was a comfortable choice with Ty. And in terms of calming and sort of short-term direction, Ty can probably be okay along those lines. And then now that they pivoted to a more expedited view of that presidential search, one definitely gets the sense that there is a possibility of calibrating or recalibrating direction. And they better, because as I tell people about any program, in my view, that whether people are talking about the future of the nursing program or any program at DSU, the board and the chancellor of the NDUS are going to have to get serious about, again, here I go again, leadership matters. What are they going to put in place? And it's not just the president; it's what the next president aligns in terms of other administrators at DSU. Right? What's going to be the future direction? There's a lot on the Dickinson State website. You can contact them, dickinsonstate.edu. They've started to post about the scope and nature of the presidential search in cooperation, of course, with the NDUS and State Board.
Eric, we're up against the break. Eric, we're up against the break. I want to come back and continue that in the bigger picture with the State Board of Higher Education as well. This is Talk of the Town. We're talking with Eric Grabowski, former Associate Professor of Communications at Dickinson State University on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 20.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Eric Grabowski, DSU former Associate Professor of Communications. We're talking about the state of Dickinson State University and what that looks, bigger picture. I want to step back a little bit and look bigger picture, because I think there's an opportunity. Ty is currently the, not interim president, but they're going through the search process. But a lot of this, for me, comes back to higher ed and some vacancies on the board, the status of Chancellor Hagerott. I think there's some one foot in front of the other that needs to take place before DSU can get straightened out. And I think that is what, under a new governor's administration, Governor Kelly Armstrong elect, what higher ed is going to look like in North Dakota. And a new chancellor, some new members on the board. I think that needs to be figured out first before we can move on to, addressing Dickinson State University or any of the other institutions of higher education in North Dakota. But I think that piece needs to happen first. And that kind of puts DSU in a holding pattern, to me, at least from what I look at the outside looking in, is higher ed needs to be addressed first.
I don't disagree in terms of how we know the political levers work in North Dakota. However, the challenging part of that for the wonderful people of southwestern North Dakota is there's a real, maybe half-solved, maybe not half-solved crisis going on in Dickinson. So, yes, let's hope, and I'm very hopeful with Governor-elect Armstrong, that there may be some breaths of fresh air. But on the other hand, we know there are some challenges both locally in southwestern North Dakota and statewide. And yes, again, leadership matters. That goes to the, not just DSU, but that's to the system and board as a whole too. So I'm hoping in 2025 that there's going to be some renewed vigor in getting people to the table in conversations, as some of my colleagues would encourage in good faith, and former colleagues. And, the tenure discussion, the tenure ad hoc committee, the board, and again, North Dakota Monitor has done some good reporting on this, that by March, the board is going to get a deadline going for institutions to come up with plans for post-tenure review. Obviously, that was prompted by HB 1446. We don't have to relive all that. But I hope as those sorts of discussions happen, that those aren't just covering mechanisms for other agendas and pushing back against pushback, all the stuff we've talked about. It's going to be a real leadership challenge going forward.
Okay, and I wasn't even thinking about the tenure discussion because that's sitting on the table right now, and that's kind of in a little bit of a pause. Yep. You've got that committee going forward, but a lot of that's going to come back to what's the state of the higher education board in North Dakota. What are some of the other things on the table? Because we've had this discussion for a long time about, there's the haves and have-nots, there's UND and NDSU, and there's everybody else. And we've got, depending on who you talk to, either too many or not enough institutions of higher education in North Dakota. I think the board is at a crossroads right now of reinventing, or at least having to look at reinventing what the landscape of higher education in North Dakota looks like. Now, at BSC, and kudos to President Jensen in reimagining a new path for BSC, and I was the mayor at the time and kind of walked through a lot of that with him legislatively and what that looked like, going, hey, we need to carve out our own niche here and go our own direction. And BSC has done a great job getting on that road. And that was fraught with a lot of roadblocks because that's not the way we've always done it. What do you see the biggest issues with the Board of Higher Education, or that reinvention of the State Board of Higher Education, looking like? The tenure is one big piece. The number of higher ed institutions is another. The missions of those institutions are another. I think the two 800-pound gorillas in the room, UND and NDSU, they're going to do what they do. But as far as all these other institutions of higher learning in North Dakota, a little insight, Eric, on what you think the struggles or the issues that are going to have to be addressed with a new board of higher education, a new chancellor, some new members, a new administration. What I'm asking you to put on your Karnak hat and do a little prognostication.
So let's start with the preliminary to that. Let's go back to our June conversation. What I don't know, and I'll try to assess a little bit better as we get close to the legislative session, with all the DSU hype and some of the other, to the extent that had board and NDUS level impact, I don't know what has happened to that wish list that we discussed in the summer once or twice. And I also don't know, for instance, never the whole train ND discussion, was there going to be an expansion into more quadrants or more segments, and would Dickinson be part of that? So what we need to assess going into the session is with the current sort of political leadership dynamic, how much has that shifted in the last 3 or 4 months? That's number one. Number two, going into the new session and then into a phase where we will have a new board, and then, of course, still a lame-duck chancellor for a bit, how are they going to navigate that transition? Because vision is the issue, right? So there has to be everyone at the table assessing, thinking about what are our human and other resources in North Dakota that are going to enable us as resident citizens of North Dakota to have the best education possible. So, you know me, I'm always saying get back to the basics, while at the same time being attentive to workforce. So again, let's encourage them to what we talked about, back in June, a more locally driven focus on workforce. Yes? Things where it can be not always so top down, but maybe ground up in collaboration then with leadership to think, what are those workforce needs regionally that we can support through some of the traditional programs and then innovate along the way? That's clearly what BSC is doing. They're on the move, right? Yeah, university and college PR sometimes is a little bit of flam, and hype, but in BSC situation, they're doing real things and they're rightly publicizing them.
We're talking with Eric Grabowski, a former associate professor of communications at Dickinson State University. I want to come back to that local workforce piece, because if you're going to talk about that, then you're also having to roll in DPI and the CTEs and what those look like as a precursor to the workforce issues with education. So I want to come back to that when we come back after the break. I'm Steve Bach, and this is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Eric Grabowski, Associate Professor of Communications, formerly at Dickinson State University. And we're talking about DSU, what the future of the Board of Higher Education, the Chancellor's Office, all that looks like, and the future of education in North Dakota. Last segment, you brought up localized workforce and addressing that, and that's probably the future role of the School of Science down in Wahpeton, BSC with the Polytechnic Mission, Williston, because you mentioned the Train ND, and that all lends itself to what's going on with DPI as well, and that is the CTEs, the career academies that we have. That model started here in Bismarck. Are we looking at higher ed and DPI having to be on the same page for some of these workforce issues? You take the foundation for an education in higher ed at the high school level. I don't think that model's completely fleshed out yet. And then you throw in the Train ND. It's like there's three legs to this stool, Eric, and they're not all on the same page yet. But we need to get there if you're going to talk about local or localized workforce development.
Yeah, and this is a good time actually to be ringing the bell for this as we get closer to the legislative session, because not an experienced politician, not a lawyer, but I've lived here long enough to see that there are political pieces that would need to be put into place to get people collaborating and cooperating to do that localist approach that would be, again, driven by local regional needs and, of course, facilitated by higher ed leadership and so forth. So we would definitely need to get the constituents and players in place. So this may be something that in the legislative session that may need to have some legislative guidance and funding to do it right, exploratory or whatever. And now's the time to talk about it, maybe also with Governor-elect Armstrong on the way, because I think this is going to be, instead of just people getting notions on what needs to be done, the next fad, it really assesses and evaluates at a local level what are those workforce needs. As we've talked about before, there are certain things that are always going to be on the table, like nursing or whatnot, but there may be other things that are different in the southwest part of the state or eastern Montana or northwest South Dakota versus on the eastern side of the state where, the other institutions could serve other roles for that region. So I think now is the time to initiate that conversation, and then that will free up opportunities for higher ed to really think about getting back to basics in the college and university programming that's always going to be important.
One other layer I want to throw on this, too, from a reinvention of, or I don't want to call it repurposing, but just a revisioning of what higher ed looks like in North Dakota, because we have two predominant research institutions in NDSU and UND. They're tasked with the research side. They go out and generate revenue through some of the work that their professors do, and they have programs associated with that, and that's a great role for them. Yeah. If you were taking some of the things off the table or off of their plate, because, I take a look at UND. It's, why is there education there? Why are we training teachers there? That would be a great role at Mayville. Or some of the things that are at NDSU. It's like, okay, take some of those things off the plate. Would that open up other avenues for bringing research dollars into the state?
Could, and I'll mention the other side of that coin, too. There have been, sometimes formally, sometimes informally, research collaborations that happen where maybe there are some faculty at NDSU or UND, and maybe at the 4 years, or even on occasion the 2 years, they might know some folks through past schooling or conferences that participate with them, and sometimes that gets more formalized through more groups of faculty doing grants. That happens in the sciences for sure, but in other areas. And then, yes, on the teaching side, there may be things that are more appropriate for the medium-sized 4 years and the 2 years to be handling that maybe shouldn't. And I don't want to speak certainly for UND or NDSU, but certainly something they should evaluate. There are some things that could be shifted elsewhere.
All right, so when you're looking at, I'm going to put you on the spot right here. Do you think, because we've got, 13 institutions of higher education in the state?
So we have 11 state institutions, then 3 private schools, right?
3, yes. Are they all warranted? Do we need them all?
So I'm on the spot here. I'm going to say the best I'm going to say on that is if we assess if there's a need there's probably some things we're doing too much of.
Because they cost a lot of money.
We're not doing enough of.
They cost a lot of money.
And so as we talked about, I think it was in June, if we're going to scale down, and I'm not going to pick a number, I just would want to make sure that we have vigorous local conversations that say, okay, and as you mentioned, we can't just pull the rug out of an area. We have to think about the ways in which we may keep something going in an area versus a lot to make sure that area's economic growth continues. And if we make those tough choices at some point collectively in the next 5-10 years, that maybe we could find some other ways to keep that education going.
Eric, as far as the Board of Higher Education, some of the other issues, is there anything else that you see on the horizon that needs to be tackled or needs to be addressed when it comes to a new chancellor, new members on the board, anything else that they need to look at right now?
Yes, and again, to me, this is connected to vision. I also don't want to say that this has only been a problem with Chancellor Hagerott, so I don't want to seem like I'm singling him out, but my observation living here now for just over working for the system for just over 14 years and living here longer is, or just under 14 years working, is to say that we have to find a way in North Dakota, and I'm sure this is a problem in other states too, is to respect the proper political dynamics that the Constitution and the people have asked for higher ed. But we have to put in or follow our checks and balances to make sure that influence peddling and problematic political influence and allegations of targeting and those sorts of things aren't in the mix, because that has not been helpful. As you know, it's no secret that I thought and with good reason, the whole tenure thing, and we've talked about this, was more about silencing people who were raising real governance concerns versus authentic tenure reform.
We're talking with Eric Grabowski, former associate professor of communications at Dickinson State University. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Eric Grabowski, former associate professor of communications at Dickinson State University. Just wrapping up on Dickinson State University and the state of higher education here in North Dakota. What's your final words?
I encourage the public to get interested in what's happening at DSU. The Dickinson Press has done some good reporting, and of course the DickinsonState.edu. Look at the timeline. They're going to be gathering public commentary input, which is important. So from the nursing situation backward, there's a lot to think about. But as many would rightly encourage, let's have a forward focus too. So if folks have thoughts and concerns and questions about the direction of DSU, get involved in what's happening locally at Dickinson State University.
I want to touch on one other topic, or actually two other topics. So Dunseith Gate, and those that may not be familiar with it, pertains to another commerce debacle and the selling of some property. And there was a lot in the national media that came out about this, and some local people jumped on it early because they thought, well, there's a national story here. Come to find out, there's not as big a story because there's a lot more to it. What is your take on what's going on up in Dunseith, North Dakota?
Well, it obviously caught a lot of folks' interest, including mine, and as you rightly indicate, there's been a lot of chatter about it. As usual, I favor Dustin Goverlow's approach. Do the research, get the records, and as he's been very public about getting open records from Commerce. Don't rush any judgment, sort through the evidence, and then, take the time necessary to assess what's really happened. So, whether it is just bureaucratic mishaps or something worse, time will tell. Again, North Dakota Watchdog update, research from Dustin.
One of the things with it is, because you mentioned Commerce, and I think there's going to be, or should be, a leveling of the Commerce Department, whether it's a reset, scaling back. I'm looking at the dollars that have flowed out of the state of North Dakota through the Commerce Department, and I'm really trying to find a good positive project. They have been spending so much taxpayer dollars at the behest of Governor Doug Burgum and funneling money out of the state, because that's where I always bump heads with Burgum on his economic development. Is his idea is, well, we created a few jobs, but you're funneling money out of the state of North Dakota. You're not bringing institutional wealth into North Dakota. And I've got a problem with that from an economic development perspective. How much of this do you think is going to go back to Commerce and Governor Burgum on, another failed project?
Let me tell you this. If I were in the legislature, I would be ringing the bell to set up, and maybe some people have this idea already. I haven't looked into this, but I would be definitely setting up some sort of legislative committee or post-session review or something to assure the citizens of this great state that their tax money and their other resources that are going to Commerce are setting up a model where it's outside in, not inside out. Because the job of a state-level Commerce, of course, you partner sometimes with things outside your state. That's a given. But their job is to cultivate economic development properly, ethically, legally within North Dakota, for North Dakota. Yeah. And that would be like a key issue for me.
Well, in conversations with our governor-elect, I'm hoping that there will be an overhaul, if not a complete dismantling of the Commerce Department, at least in its current iteration, and how that plays out to taxpayer dollars in North Dakota, because I'm just not seeing the benefit within the state. I'm seeing plenty of benefit outside of the state, but just not a lot of benefit in the state. I want to move on to one other story real quickly while we got you on the phone, something that people around the Dickinson area have been following. Keith Schmidt, missing person.
Yeah, so I did an article on a freelance basis for the Dickinson Press in September, What Happened to Keith Schmidt. I've encouraged folks to check it out. It is open access because it's a currently active case. And Keith William Schmidt went missing on May 20th, 2024 in Dickinson, last seen then on a neighborhood camera. And so the case is still open. Still, Keith has not been found, or remains haven't been found. So read the story. There's a lot of detail there. This is certainly as they say, a without a trace sort of situation as of now. There's some things that are known. There's a lot that's not known. I will say that from the article, a family member had asked that, especially during the hunting seasons, for folks to be on the lookout. And recently, on a Facebook post, the Dickinson PD has reiterated that. So as hunters are out there, wherever they are, or whoever's hearing this, please do that. In that article, there are some additional pictures than what had been made public before. Obviously, at this point, if it was foul play or if it was suicide, the family wants closure. But there is that possibility. We hope that for whatever reason, Keith might be out there somewhere on the move, might be in need of help. So we're just asking folks, hunters, not hunters, wherever, please be on the lookout. Again, the article is What Happened to Keith Schmidt, Dickinson Press.
So this is an open case. Are there any lines of investigation that law enforcement's currently following? Do they have any leads on anything that's taken place, or do they have any theories set up, or is it just kind of a big unknown right now?
So, seemingly unknown. Now, I will say, especially because, the possibility that foul play could have been involved, understandably, they're guarded with what they're saying publicly to protect the current investigation. So they have gotten a lot of leads, as they've said. They've continued to sort through them. They've, gone through, neighborhood cameras and talked to various folks and been collaborating with contacts and family members clearly. So they're not saying a lot. I can tell you just through some of the reporting in the article and some folks that have gone on the record and some background sources, there definitely was that period of time leading up to May 20th where, and again, I outlined it in the article, where aspects of Keith's business and communication habits began to shift. So there was something going awry at that point, and seemingly the law enforcement would be looking into that, and hopefully from that period of time and beyond, assessing these various leads and tips and thoughts that they've been getting.
If people want to read that
now, it's a big unknown.
If people want to read that article, where do they find that?
It's the DickinsonPress.com, and it is just, what happened to Keith Schmidt. Still open access, has been shared a lot, and that's not about me, that's about Keith, as well as those Dickinson PD posts at their Facebook page that about, those updates on Keith.
And if you have any information, contact the Dickinson Police Department. Eric, always...
They can contact the Dickinson Police Department, 701-456-7759. Again, 701-456-7759.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Eric, you have a great day.
Thank you, sir. I look forward to coming back again.
Eric Grabowski, former Associate Professor of Communications at Dickinson State University. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.